Although people, I haven't told you what her score is.
Once I had my offer from Google, that was in my third year of engineering. I interned there twice and I got a full time offer. I was looking into deferred MBA programs. I spoke to Chandrajit sir actually from IMS. He was a lead admissions consultant.
Hello, Divina. Welcome to this call. We are very, very excited to talk to you today. Your story, I'm sure, is going to motivate a lot of people today. So, first of all, big, big, big congratulations on your score. Although, people, I haven't told you what her score is, we'll hear it from her. So, start with introducing yourself a little bit, your name, city, your academics, what did you specialize in your undergrad, and so on. Let's hear it.
Sure. Thank you so much for the introduction. I'm Davina John. I'm currently working in Google as a software engineer. I joined a couple of months back. And as for my education, I did my BTech in computer science from VIT Vellore. And I've grown up in Bangalore, did my schooling there in the CBSE board, and then went on to pursue computer science for my 11th onwards.
Wow, Google people, huh? What test did you take? What did you prepare at IMS Manya? What was the test?
I took the GMAT.
You took the GMAT. Okay, so tell us about your entire GMAT journey. Was this the first attempt we're talking about? What has the journey been like? What was your score in different attempts if you took them? How did you feel? Let's hear a little bit about the journey.
Sure. So once I had my offer from Google, that was in my third year of engineering. I interned there twice and I got a full time offer around August. So, post that, I was looking into deferred MBA programs. I knew that I don't want to do an MBA immediately right after graduation. I wanted to get some experience and then do MBA like 4 to 5 years down the line. So then I was looking at programs which offer this option, and I found programs in US 9 to 10 programs, and I wanted to start preparing for that. But again, my academics were pretty hectic that semester, so I started my preparation for the GMAT in December. So I knew the last semester of college I had some time, and this is what I wanted to do with it. I could also have taken an internship and then prepared for MBA later on, but I was sure that I wanted to go down the management route in the future. So I spoke to Chandrajit sir actually from IMS. He was a lead admissions consultant, and I told him about my aspirations. Me and my dad, we had a conversation with him. 4 to 5 institutes which were offering these services, but we were very convinced by what Chandrajit sir and his confidence in me and my profile and the process. So we went ahead with IMS. Batch that I joined had begun in November, but since my I had NSEMs in college and things, I only started in the end of December. So I was already a month late to the batch I joined into, but I had to give the exam as soon as possible because my admission deadline was in April. So I had barely 3 months, Jan, Feb, and March to prepare, and April first week onwards, the deadline started rolling in. Yeah, I joined an earlier batch and I caught up with all the recorded lectures that you were offering on your website. That was pretty helpful. And also, I had two mentors. One was Pradeep sir for my verbal, and Mohammed Junaid sir for quant and data insights. So both of them also had frequent one-on-ones with, so they helped me catch up on what I had missed, and even the new things which we were learning. I was a part of the weekend batch, so I was able to catch up. And the diagnostic test that I took, I scored a 565 in my first test.
This was without any prep.
Without any prep.
At the very start. Okay.
At the very start.
565.
65.
We'll remember that. Then
Yes, pretty scary because I had to apply in 3 months, and my score wasn't great. My quant score was 81 out of 90, and my data insights was a section I hadn't done too often. Like in engineering, it doesn't come in your curriculum and things. Even verbal, I had a pretty long break from. We don't have English and things on our curriculum. So he was giving me the confidence that it's okay, it's going to be all right. And yeah, then that required a lot of work. Firstly, the GMAT structure, that took me some time. understanding which questions you have to answer correctly and which questions you can, take a bet on and move on, because it penalizes you if you get an easy or a medium question wrong. But if you get a hard question wrong, then it's all right. Your score won't get affected that much. It took a while, and especially for in India, we have exams which are absolutely graded. So every question has equal weightage, and
Yeah.
there's no negative grading, and there's no buckets in which your score will fall into based on the attempt that you're doing. It required a lot of strategy compared to regular exams. The sections that you're taking, how you, because if you do your easiest section first, then your score will automatically go higher. But also you need to be careful, because that means the next section, when you're starting itself, you'll get higher questions. So the adaptive nature of the test, both section wise and within the section when you're answering questions, was something I found tricky. So then I started taking my mocks, I think in end of Feb. The Feb last week was my first mock. I was improving. Also, I did not have time, you need to consider, because April was my deadline. So the course was completing in end of March, like in the beginning of mid March, I would say. The course was officially concluding, and then we had like doubt sessions. I couldn't wait until it gets over for me to start taking mocks because of the deadline. So I was improving. I scored a 615, then 605, then a 615, then 625. So it was going slowly higher. In my first attempt, I scored a 655.
The
So
first official mark. The
in my
actual
first
first
actual
actual exam.
GMAT,
Okay.
first actual attempt,
655.
I scored a 655. That was right after we finished the course, and I had taken, I think, a couple of mocks, official mocks. And after that, obviously, for me, before, because deferred MBA is much more competitive than the actual MBA, so I knew I had to take more attempts to get my score higher, and that was also the plan. So we wanted to have two attempts by my deadline, so that I have, if any one of them goes wrong, at least I have a backup score. It's not like I don't have any score at all. So I gave my second attempt in April first week, April 4th. And in that, I scored a 675.
Okay.
So mentors were like, okay, this is a pretty good jump, because it was just after 14 days.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't have any time to too much prepare or work on a lot of things. But I think I pretty exhaustively covered the material which was provided in the OG guides, the reviews, verbal review, the quant review, DI review, and the online question bank and things, and even the verbal, I mean, the GMAT club questions, which Pradeep sir, my verbal mentor, had recommended. So then I think my admissions counselor had changed. It was Amisha, because my previous admission counselor had left. So I was working on my essays and things with Amisha. So she was more like, focus on your essays at this point, and because the score is all right, but we have to make sure your rest of the application, because we barely had time. It was
Yeah.
just like a week or something, for or two. Certain universities had their admissions opening up in April 8th, then April 15th, but majority of them was April 26th and 27th, 28th. So she was asking me to do that, and so I thought that I was done. But I knew I could have performed better. I knew, like, I my preparation was better. Like, I could have scored better. But again, I was very apprehensive. So I don't know why. And I already gave two attempts. It's not a very easy, it's not a cheap exam that you can just keep
Yeah.
taking again. So I thought I'm done. And I focused on my essays. I did all of that. Then my deadline came from for the major deadline, that is for 6 universities. My deadline was end of April. So by that time, I had already applied to quite a few universities, like 4 or 5 of them. And my dad was like, why don't you give it one more attempt?
Mm.
And by this time, I was so done with GMAT. I did not revise anything, or I wasn't like I wasn't looking to give another attempt, because I had prepared quite a bit, and all the material was exhausted.
Yeah.
All my tests were exhausted. Mock tests on the official platform, the 6 mock tests, everything was over. So I was like, what more can I do? I literally prepared the best I could, and I was like, I don't know, why should I give another attempt? But he was like, just give it. because you felt you could do better. What if you get a better score? So my dad was just telling me, just push me to give it. And he's like, don't worry about the money. It's okay. It's fine. Just give it. You don't even need to prepare. Just go sit.
Mm.
Then I prepared for 4 days. Literally 4 days before the exam, I booked it, and I just revised whatever I had in those 4 days, and I gave the exam, and I scored a 705. So
Wow.
then I was
Thank
also
you, Dad.
yes, I was like so thankful. But yeah, sometimes it also depends on the set you get and how your day was during the exam and things like that. But I was pretty happy, and it was so rushed that that day, the day that my score came, that night was my deadline. So
Wow.
everything was happened the very very last moment. But by
How
then
did you feel when you saw that score?
I felt so relieved. I was just looking on, so on my screen they had like 99 percentile,
Well,
and I was not moving away from that. The examiner, the person who was conducting the exam, he was just looking at me like, okay, the exam is over. Why is she not moving? But I was just looking. I was like fixated on the
yeah,
screen because I was like, wow. Because I had
it is
imagined that
wow.
so many days while preparing, and I was so thankful. I was like, okay,
Wow.
it's over.
If you see the whole journey from a 565 to 655, 675, 705, you knew no stopping points. So the best part here is a lot of times when people get a low score in the first attempt, they give up. They're like, maybe this is what I can do. But how you gave it 15 days for one more attempt and then just a little bit more, and then maybe let me take it one more time. Not much changed in your preparation. Maybe just a little bit fine tuning here and there, and maybe the fear that you associated with the test in the first attempt did not come with you in the subsequent attempts, that
Yeah.
because you're the most scared when you do something for the first time. Everybody is so intimidated with this test, but maybe that fear went out, and when you went with that feeling, let me see what happens. At best, if it's lower than this, I already have a score. Let's see. That let's see attitude, in my opinion, has a role to play here. Because the more we worry ourselves about our performance, the more mistakes we make. I make it. I know so many people who make it. It's such a psychology test as much as of concepts and application, right? Would you say your mindset really helped you in the improvement along with all of the prep?
I think so.
Yeah.
Because I think, yeah, there was quite a bit of pressure in the first attempt. Uh, but going forward, in the last attempt, especially, I don't think a lot of people even knew that I was giving the last attempt. It was just
Mm.
my dad and my mentors who knew.
Yeah.
So it was a lot less pressure. And I had a decent score to fall back on. So I wasn't too worried about, scoring lower. So that was, and I had the rest of the application ready. So my main thing was like, you know what, I don't want the GMAT score to be the reason why I don't get an admit into any university. So I was just pushing it. And the funny thing is, during the exam, the way I felt while giving the exam, I thought that was my worst attempt. So the verbal questions were hard. I mean, I do quant first, which is my strong point, and I scored an 88 in quant. And then I had verbal and data insights, and the questions were just getting so hard. And I barely had time for the last few questions. So I thought this had gone in a toss. I take the break after verbal, so that's when I
Mm.
got the time to process. I was like, no, no section like verbal attempt of mine has gone so bad. So I was, and when I gave DI, I literally just, I had no hopes. I just gave the section and I got out. And so that's I was so like, surprised. Again, that's another aspect of the test. If you do well, it gives you harder questions.
Mm.
So I think that's a false sense of um, panic that you get because you're not able to solve the questions because it's more harder.
But maybe you were able to solve
Yeah,
them.
the thing was
They
later when I
were
saw
so
the
hard that you
yeah.
felt it's not happening, and then, but you know what the best part is? Even when you realize that, oh, it's not going well, you do not let that impact your performance. because
Yes,
had it impacted your performance, this would not have been the score,
definitely.
right? So even when we actually a learning from here is that during the test, don't overanalyze. Oh, I'm getting hard. Oh, I'm getting easy. That means I messed up there. Because if we do that, then our mental bandwidth is also wasted on all of the, analyzing while you're doing the test. So,
Yes.
yeah, that's good learnings for everyone. Go in with confidence. Don't overthink. Whatever is happening is happening. See how she didn't even have time to process until the break happened. That means
Yeah.
when she's doing the sections, she's not thinking about them. It's in the break that you process. That's my learning from here, that do not worry yourself while you're doing it. You're going to mess it up. Amazing. So, what was your experience like with your mentors at IMS?
Both my mentors, Quant and Verbal, both of them gave me a lot of time, one-on-ones, because the class, again, I was in a much more accelerated timeline because of my deferred MBA, and the others were applying to regular MBA, and the cycles were different. So mine was a very tight deadline. So they helped me through a lot of one-on-ones, analyzing my mock performance and suggesting improvements. So I think both of the and resources, any resources that I needed, they got it to me because I was done with all the OG guides. So they gave me additional exercises and harder level questions. And um, so I think, yeah, I got a lot of support from both my mentors.
Amazing. Any specific techniques or methods that come to your mind that, oh, this really helped me. I was stuck with this, but then this thing happened and my accuracy improved. Anything in your journey, anywhere,
Mhm.
verbal, quant, whatever.
Yes. So in for me, the quant, I was naturally good at math, so I felt that was easier for me right from the get go.
Hmm.
But understanding, so revising all of the concepts that were taught in class and making notes, and I just revised the notes before every attempt because the questions are straightforward. But if you stumble upon any formula or any small detail, which is there are shortcuts of doing things also, which are taught in class, and ways of elimination. So I think method of elimination plays a big role, um, especially in verbal, but also in quant for the harder questions, which require more of logic rather than solving. So I think that is a thing which understood, and my score really improved, is understanding which question to solve by pure calculation and which question to solve by method of elimination.
Very well
So
put. It's
that,
about knowing how to approach a question
yeah,
as much as doing the question. The how
exactly.
matters. Yes.
Because you don't have time. You don't, if
Yeah.
you, obviously all the questions are solvable, but you
Mm.
don't have time to sit and do all the calculations, do it step by step.
Yeah.
Instead, if you use a little logic and you but that's not something that comes to you naturally.
Mm.
It took me some time and a lot of revision to get that sort of thinking where I'm looking at a question and automatically I say, okay, these three cannot be the options, and
Yeah.
then I'm left with these two, and then a little bit of calculation, and you'll be able to understand what out of those two, what is the
Mm.
right answer.
I agree.
So
Despite being in this industry for over 10 years now, my approach wasn't always about the strategies much. My approach used to be really solving the question. Simply because I came from a math background, bachelor's and master's. So I was in the habit of doing things completely. Then came this test. And I was always doing the full thing as if somebody is going to give me marks for my beautiful steps. So even somebody who had been in this space had to do a little bit of unlearning and then relearning.
yeah,
Then do what is the most efficient. It's not just accuracy, right? After all, it's accuracy and efficiency. So yeah,
yes.
very well put. So now that you look back on this entire journey, what was the one biggest challenge that you faced and you'd be like, okay, guys, do this and maybe you'll save yourself from this?
Yeah, before that, I just want to add a few things for verbal and DI as well. So
Hmm.
for verbal, the TAM approach was literally life changing
Hmm.
because it's so easy to. The TAM approach is basically topic identify. When you read a passage, you identify the topic, argument, and the main idea. And once you identify this, you go on to answer the question, read the question, and identify what is being asked, and it's a method of active reading. And many people, I feel, would not go for this approach just because of the amount of time that it takes. Because you're not just reading it, you're also classifying and you're trying to understand what's happening in the passage, which might take a minute or two initially when you're reading, and will give you lesser time to solve the question. Or what people tend to do is read the question first and just try to go
Yeah.
directly, which is also thing. You need to read the question first to identify what is being asked, what, like, classify the question. But that's a different thing. Reading regularly versus reading the TAM approach is very different, which IMS taught me. So initially, I used to just read it normally as I'm reading. Then what I did was I started writing it down as I was solving each passage. What is the topic? What is the argument? During my practice,
Yeah.
what is the main idea? So when I started writing it down, then over time, especially the longer passages, like the scientific passages or the social humanities based passages, all of that became easier for me. And when I did this, my accuracy improved by a lot,
Okay.
because now there's a very structured approach in which you're looking at the options and you're eliminating the options, so there's less room for error based on your personal bias of the material. So that was very, very helpful. And for DI is a tricky section because it's been recently introduced and there's not much material for you to prepare on it. And there's so much of data, and you don't know, the timing is an issue, whether you have enough time to solve all of it. So um, data sufficiency and the two-part analysis were two questions which my mentor asked me to focus on. And the other paragraph based, the multi-passage questions, he said it's okay if you don't get those right. But for me, controversially, that my accuracy was my I was strong in that, the harder sections. So my score came from that, and even in mocks I was consistently doing well in those sections.
Uh,
So I think in certain cases your strengths might be different compared to the strategy that is most commonly applied. And I think over time my mentor realized that, and we modified our approach accordingly. So I think that is also one thing, like playing to your strengths. If you
yeah.
know that this is something you can get right if you spend an extra minute on, then I think it's worth it, rather than saying, I will definitely limit myself 2 minutes to this question and go to the other question, and when it's harder for you to score over there.
Yeah.
But the data sufficiency, I think it's just having strategies to break down the data. So this is a place where reading the question first was the only savior for me, so that I don't get overloaded by all the data that is being presented. And one more thing is, data sufficiency has a lot of tricky questions. So you might think that it's always C, that both the options are needed. But there are so many conditions where one condition can be derived from another one. So data sufficiency at least requires a lot of practice and analyzing the question type after you solve each question. Line. So I think, yeah, those were some of the section specific things that I wanted to mention. And one thing which is advice I would give is, do not get overwhelmed by watching all of the YouTube videos saying, you know what, you need 6 months to do this, and people have been preparing for a year or 2 years. That was one major thing for me. Everyone who had scored amazing, they were like, I had been preparing for a year for this, and I'd taken coaching and so many attempts. So that was one thing which I used to get a little scared about because I did not have time. But I think it depends. So if you have lesser time, you can push more during the time that you have and also get a good score. So not fitting into any mold of this is how GMAT needs to be done, but more of trusting yourself and trusting your journey is very important. For me, again, my mentors were very surprised with my score. They did not think it's possible also. But again, I think just being consistent and persistent also to a certain extent, because you feel like giving up a lot of times because your mock scores might not be improving. And a lot of of the times when I'm working on one section, that used to improve and the other section used to come down. So
Mm.
I used to feel like a lot of discouragement, but just pushing through the process, because it is tense, it is hectic. Your admits depend on it, your your admission, so many things depend on your scholarship and things. So it is stressful, but uh, I think having a lot of belief in your preparation and putting your preparation first, and all of these things that you consume from YouTube about what an ideal GMAT journey should be is less important.
Mm. So it's a very personal journey. Go on your own journey and trust in your own abilities. Work on your strengths and weaknesses. This is not going to fit any mold, of course, because every person is different. So don't be scared when somebody else says it's going to take that long. You might not. If someone else says this is too hard for them, it's for them. You see your journey. So, yes, personalization is the name of the game. Very, very nice. So, if you now had to sum up your entire experience of preparation at IMS Manya in, say, very brief 1, 2 sentences, what would you say to sum up the whole thing?
um I would say it was a very personalized uh, assistance that I got through the coaching throughout my time. I've spoken a lot about my GMAT journey, but another aspect is the admissions counseling, which I received from Amisha. So that was also really playing to my strengths. She took time to understand my profile, and I had a bunch. So when you basically start preparing, there are quite a few storylines that you can build your application around, and
Mm.
understanding which ones are important for each school, and crafting your essays and letter of recommendations around that is very crucial. So there was a some things that I did, like I did a research program with Johns Hopkins. So I went to the US, and I did some volunteering work raising money during COVID, and I did I led a chapter of 500 students and quite a few different things like this, which is honestly difficult to capture in a single essay or even three essays. But she helped me find the common thread throughout all of my different stories and put who I am in an application in a nice way, or at least help me to do that, or find my path towards doing that. So yeah, that was great.
Wow, commendable. Amazing. This is such a motivating journey. I think a lot of people are going to find a lot of value here, a lot of confidence boost also, that you keep at it. Nothing can stop you from your growth. Work on your own path. Don't try to follow any preset, navigations. Take your own journey and trust yourself. Have good mentors. Have a good consultant who can craft this story with you, and then we'll have another Divina then. We all
Yes.
wish you all the very best,
Thank
the
you.
journey you're on. Thank you very much for talking to
Thank
us.
you.
Thank you.
And one more thing is just the admits part of it. So that can also be very stressful because you have 10, 15 universities you've applied to getting the admits. And
Yeah.
um, so I got two admits, one into Darden, University of Darden, Virginia, and one into Kellogg School of Management. So just the process of waiting for an interview, and getting rejections from other universities, that can also be very, very, stressful. So I
Mm.
think what I did was I reached out to a lot of people of the alumni, at least when I got the interview invite, and ultimately that's what helped me. So that's another point that I would just like to
Policy.
highlight. Just talk to alumni, ping people on LinkedIn, or even ask the IMS people if anyone had done it before through IMS. So, and even the decision after that, making it like which university to go to, or because one of them offered me a good scholarship, the other one didn't. They said we'll offer scholarship at a later time. So, all of these are also things to consider. So, it's just a journey which takes a lot of time. It took like 7 months for me to get over it. And I think just having faith and believing in yourself, as you said.
Oh, yes, that's the secret.
Yes.
The whole positive game. I'm a fake believer. So, yes, we see that works definitely. Great. Let's hope this is very nicely taken into account. Again, we're not setting any mold. In fact, we're breaking all of those, where Divina is trying to show us how it's a very personalized journey. She can't give you a story that you just follow. She's motivating you to build your own story. So let's see how that goes. Amazing. Then good luck from the listeners also, Divina. We'll follow
Thank you
your
so
story.
much. Thank you.
All right.